ladies and gentlemen, October 7, Hamas strike caught Israel, one of the supposedly safest countries in the world, off guard. What's following since then is a real threat to the delicate balances in the Eastern Mediterranean and to the rest of the world. Today we are hosting the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Embassy of the State of Israel, Cyprus, Mrs. Rotem Segev. Hello, Mrs. Segev.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Actually, it's not the best, the best reason that to host you right now, but I believe it's very interesting and very important to have this discussion in order to realize exactly what's going on, because it's a huge bombing right now in all the media about what's happening, but we really want to have your opinion about the things. And I want to ask you the first question, which is how much the October 7 attack by Hamas affected the people of Israel? I mean, the general public, the mentality, how is it affecting you?
Okay. October 7, there was a war forced upon us. It's a national trauma, and you have to understand that the October 7 attack is still going on. It didn't finish. Not only because we have more than 226, that's the last number I have, hostages being kept and held hostages in Gaza, but also because we have family members who are still looking for their relatives, people who are still missing, people who are still wounded in hospitals and are still dying from these atrocities that Hamas did. Even the ones who survived and managed to get to the hospital, they're still dying, and you know, it's not something that finished. I mean, October 7, it just started, but it's still going on. It's a national trauma. Every house in Israel has some kind of a personal relation to what had happened, either have someone who was murdered, kidnapped, injured, of any kind of these attacks. And it's still going on, as we said. The hostages, you know, Hamas has been doing, continue to do the psychological manipulation that they do all the time, like they released the two elderly ladies the other day. How did they ended up there? You know, they show themselves as they're nice, releasing an 85-year-old lady. They kidnapped her as if she was a livestock on a motorcycle, taking her to Gaza, holding her kidnapped in tunnels for weeks. These are animals, barbaric monsters. They are not humans. They're a terror organization. And the fact that they're trying to make themselves look as if they're being nice by releasing her, no. She was terrified. She was held hostage, and her husband is still there. A lot of her friends from her village are still there. I mean, a terror organization of that sort is influencing every home in Israel.
We do understand much more than maybe even you can think about it, because we experience all these things. You are in a country that I'm sure you are aware of, that just 50 years ago it was faced an invasion, and there were hundreds of missing people, so we do understand when you talk about missing people. There were atrocities. Of course, the main difference, just to be fair to everybody, is that we had to face a state, even if this state is Turkey. In your case, you have to face an organization, and in many international media, it's making me an impression when they say war is between Israel and Hamas. I think it's the first time that you see a war between a state, an organized, recognized state, with an organization. And maybe this is a game changer for things. I don't know, and this leads me to my next question. There is a global debate, and I think it's one of the very rare moments that a state openly talks against the Secretary General. for his positions and his statements. And this global debate is regarding Israel's right to defend itself and its citizens, of course. And many people say, okay, how this justify a state to punish a whole amount of people, which are the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip?
Okay. I'll go to the second part of your question, referring to the war between Israel and Hamas. Mm-hmm. It has to be framed as such. We have not declared, or we have no interest to have a war against the Palestinian people. And we are not targeting civilian populations. We are in war with Hamas, a terror organization, exactly the same way when other countries were in a war against ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and other terror organizations. It should be preserved exactly in the same way. And Hamas, as operating from Gaza, is intentionally and deliberately operating from civilian areas. So they have their rocket launched in schoolyards. They have their bunkers of their ammunition under hospitals and under schools and in family houses. You can see the terror tunnels come in people's living rooms, under a mattress or under a sink of the kitchen. So they're deliberately operating from the civilian population area in order for it to look as if Israel is targeting the civilian population, but we're not. Israel has took every possible measure to evacuate the civilians from Gaza. We spread leaflets, we send them messages, we inform them to evacuate, and up until now, around 700,000 of Palestinians evacuated themselves from the northern part of the Strip to the south. And we still continue to do so in order to protect them, even though Hamas is sometimes blocking their way and preventing them from leaving, because again, they want the psychological aspect of showing pictures of civilians being in harm's way, but that's not because of us, and this is not our goal. We are doing everything possible to target Hamas operation centers and shelters and all these places that Hamas is targeting Israel from. And just so you, we are operating in court according to the international law, and according to this, since we are at war with Hamas, every place that Hamas was operating from, a workshop, an office, an apartment, a basement, are legitimate military targets. And even if sometimes they preserved as civilians, they're not. And that's why when Israel is targeting and choosing where to operate, it's been checked by a lot of people in Israel that are in the legal departments, and we know exactly what we're doing. We have the abilities to do that, and we are doing this because we're operating according to the international law and the humanitarian international law. And I think that people knows that. I mean, among the European countries and all the other countries that are supporting us. And the public should know that as well.
You know, I have many of my questions is not express my what I do believe. I'm trying to give questions and give you also the opportunity to give your position on the things. So I just wanted to clarify this. And I have the feeling that we experience another war. It's another battlefield. It's, I'm talking about fake news and social media. Basically, it's amazing what's going on there. And you see that I have the impression that it's like the whole world divided in two right now. The one that they say that it's exactly what Israel have to do to protect its sovereignty and its citizens. And the opposition, they say, yeah, but what they are doing, what they did, or what they are doing with the Palestinians, etc., etc. But I want to focus on this battlefield of fake news and social media. And I'd like to explain to me how you're dealing with this. And there's a state of Israel, and of course, and as an embassy here in Cyprus.
Okay. So, as you said, there is another battlefield of the narrative. And I think that people, sometimes they're captured in their own bubble, in their own echo chamber of social media, because if you are supporting or following one page or another, the social media algorithm will show you only that. But if you are an open-minded person, consider yourself liberal, democratic, educated, you would check your facts. And this is exactly what happened at the hospital, for example, where Hamas at the beginning blamed Israel for the rocket. And then afterwards, even the AP, they published an apology saying that after the investigation, it was shown that it was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket who was shot on the hospital, a misfire. And I think that people in general, in order to prevent themselves from being fed by fake news that are really all over there, should check their facts, should be more aware of who they're following. It should be channels that make sure that they show the right data. For example, a lot of the data that Hamas is giving, for example, the Ministry of Health in Gaza, it's a Hamas entity. They're ballooning the numbers of casualties. They're not the right numbers. We know that. And people buy it because, you know, for them, it's the Ministry of Health, but it's not. It's part of a Hamas, part of a terror organization that is publishing all these fake news in order to gain more support from the world. And what we've been trying to do is just show the facts. Here in Cyprus and elsewhere in the world as Israel, you know, we are showing the facts. We are showing the atrocities that was done by Hamas, because people did not believe it back then. You know, they were saying that maybe we faked it. I don't know how someone can fake beheaded babies, women, children being burned alive. You cannot fake something like that, not even in a horror movie. We showed the facts. We showed the exact numbers of missiles being fired from Gaza and landed in Gaza. We show the fuel tanks that Hamas is holding behind the people, and then the people think that they have no fuel in the strip, but they do have. Hamas is holding it, so we show that as well. We just try to show the truth and what's behind all the fake news of people being suffering, because there are a lot of things that people don't know because they just don't ask. And that's the problem. The ignorance of you know, people being kept preserved in their own beliefs without really checking what's true. So we are trying to show the facts. We are trying to share it as much as possible, and yeah, and that's how to deal with it. But this is a very tough one.
Basically, in my opinion, it is like you have a clash of two different worlds. Israel, the state of Israel is located in a complete hostile territory.
True.
And you have around you is Arabic population, and many times I wonder from where all this hate comes from. What do you think? Why they hate you so much?
I don't think that they all hate us so much. We have peace agreements with Arab countries in our region, such as Egypt, Jordan. We just had the normalization in Abraham Accords with other Gulf countries, and we're trying to promote more. I don't think that people hate us. Whoever hates us are terror organizations that have, like, such as Hamas and Hezbollah as well, but let's put that aside for now, that put on their charter that their goal is to murder Jews and to kill and to have Israel gone as far as they want. And you know, I want to show you just one note that shows the exact mindset that they come with. This note was found on one of the terrorists in one of the villages in Israel, and it says in Arabic, know that this enemy of yours is a disease that has no cure other than beheading and extracting the hearts and livers. This is what they come with. This is what they go with when they come and infiltrate Israeli villages and slaughter the whole families and burn them all alive. This is what they come with pure hate against Jews. It goes way back to Nazi Germany. You know, a lot of them were carrying plans, or we saw that there was interest in Nazism, and this is how they operate. This was their mindset, you know, executing people from zero distance. We saw these images only in Nazi Germany, and as back then the Ally countries wanted to eliminate the Nazi regime and the Nazi government leadership, this is exactly the case now. This is what we want to do in Gaza, to eliminate Hamas as a terror organization. We have nothing against the people. We have nothing against the Palestinians. We need to eradicate this terror organization because we cannot live side by side in our borders with them any longer.
Please, let's approach from a different angle. Yeah. In geopolitics, when something happens like this, there are two main questions: why now, and who is benefited from this? Because you mentioned the Abraham's court, and the whole situation happened just a bit before one of the most significant agreements between State of Israel and Saudi Arabia. You believe your approach is that the two events, they are connected or not?
It's very hard to say for two reasons. One reason, we know that Hamas has been preparing for this operation for over a year. And they were waiting for a specific time that would be best to do that. And they did it on a holiday, on a Saturday morning, when we were pretty much surprised. We were not ready for this kind of massacre. To tell you that it had direct connection to the development between Israel and Saudi Arabia, it's hard to say, even though we know that the advisor to Khamenei, after the 7 of October massacre, first of all, they were obviously congratulating Hamas for their operation, but then he said something about this is what happens for someone who is trying to get normalization with Saudi Arabia, or something of that sort, something a little vague. So he was not really pointing a finger on that specific reason, but it was back there in the area. And we also know, and that's not a secret, everyone knows that, that Iran fingerprints are all over Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthi in Yemen and other proxies in the region. Hamas could not have launched this attack against Israel without an assistance and abilities, know-hows, money, agenda, preparations, even trainings. You know, they took parachutes and they landed in Israel. They had to train it elsewhere, outside of Gaza. It could not have happened there. So you see the fingerprints all over their activity. We know that Iran is behind it. It's not a secret. We know that Iran is behind Hezbollah. We know that they're financing them and funding them and helping them. Yeah, all the actors of the region have their own aspect on that. Who's gaining from it? Hopefully we will all, after we eliminate Hamas. After we will eliminate Hamas, and the region will be way more peaceful.
Yeah. Because you mentioned all the actors of the region, there is also an approach that actually it's a world war being waged right now in the Middle East, with the direct or indirect participation of all the actors in the region. And just if you see the map, and you see all the actors that they are around, and at the same time the United States sent 2 carriers in the area, and at the same time Russia involved in Syria, and at the same time China have its own reasons. And okay, we do know that we live in a very interesting part of the world. We really hope both of our countries not to be so interesting, but it is what it is. How this you think is going to develop? Because there are serious worries about what's coming next.
Yeah, I mean, there are these worries. We share the same worries.
Yeah.
But I must tell you that we have no intention to open another front. We do not want that. We feel that it will not be the right thing to do from their end as well. Even President Biden was very clear about that in his speech, that he said if someone wants to take advantage of this war to join, don't. And I think that this is the most important thing to know, that it's not going to be the right thing to do to enter this war and to engage in it. However, Israel is prepared for every scenario. We have the abilities, and we have the soldiers, and we have whatever we need to protect our citizens and our country from all angles. We will not rush to do that, but we are able to do that, and we will prevail from this situation. Israel is a strong country, or a strong nation with strong people. Everyone are behind it. Everyone understands that this, what happened on October 7th, the war that was forced upon us, cannot continue. We cannot blink the eye on it and continue to have lives with such a terror organization around our borders. So we must react. We must protect ourselves. But we will prevail from this. I know it for a fact.
No, actually, there is no doubt that we want to prevail. There is no doubt how strong Israel is and how organized as a country it is. Please guide me into this. I mean, how are you going to resolve this conflict? I mean, military-wise, there is no doubt. But somehow, how is going to resolve this conflict? I mean, the resolution for you is that we enter there, we eliminate Hamas, and then what?
It's very hard to say from now. We are in the middle of the war. As I said, we're still finding missing people, examining bodies, just to see who they are. And we are still not even in the stage that we operate within the Gaza Strip. So it's very hard to say how things will fold out. But I can tell you this. The goals of the war is to eliminate Hamas capabilities, political abilities, military abilities, and to make sure that they cannot control the Gaza Strip anymore. These are the goals of the war, and we will do that by targeting every Hamas painted target within the Gaza Strip. The longer it takes, we will have to deal with it. I mean, I know that some people, they don't have the patience, they want to see the end game already, but when you're dealing with a terror organization of that sort, the solution is not easy, and it's not fast. It will not be in a week or two. You have to take your time in order to eliminate the threat and to make sure that this will be the last war we will have with this organization, because we've been suffering, and our citizen has been suffering from this for many years. And now this will be the last war. We will eliminate this organization, as when other countries eliminated Al-Qaeda or ISIS or the Nazi regime. They did not stop until they eliminated them.
Please enlighten me with this, because I really don't know how becomes and Hamas being organized, developed, get all these potential, let's say, to make such a sudden strike to the state of Israel from an area that basically is controlled from the state of Israel, because Gaza Strip, I'm talking about the Gaza Strip, yeah? It's, maybe I'm wrong, that's why I'm making the question, because I really want to know. It's not a trick question. And how it happens. I mean, it was at your backyard. How this happened, how they develop, how they get so strong.
Okay.
How you let it happen, let's say.
Well, let's divide your question into two. First of all, there is the myth that Israel is controlling Gaza.
Thank you for clarifying.
Not true. A myth. As I said, Israel has no control on Gaza. Israel withdrew all the soldiers, settlements, everything in 2005. There is not even one soldier there ever since. We have no control of what's going on there. We are controlling the borders in the sense that we would like to make sure that no dangerous, rockets and missiles and ammunition are entering Gaza Strip, but the borders are open. There is no siege whatsoever. They're entering, there are hundreds of trucks on a daily basis before the war. Yeah, we're entering Gaza with whatever supply they needed. Food, medications, construction materials, everything. Hamas took a lot of these products and materials that were entering Gaza to build their own underground city of terror tunnels. This is what they used, all the millions that were given to them from the world. Instead of building schools, they were building terror tunnels. And they are doing the same thing now during the war with, they're stealing from their own population. So they're stealing gas and fuels from UNRWA resources. They're not letting them have clean water necessarily, because you have to use fuel for the desalination factories, and they prefer to use this fuel to shoot rockets at Israel. And so we are not responsible for the people in Gaza. Hamas is, and they chose very well, very poorly, to be honest. But they chose their own decision how to deal with this and how to treat their people. But Israel has no control on what's going on there. Israel is only providing them 10% of their water. The other 90% comes with underground reservoirs and desalination factories. And also Israel is giving them electricity, about 50% of it, but they bombed 9 out of the 10 lines that were connecting the electricity between Israel and Gaza, so they bombed it. So now there is only one left, but they also have solar panels and they have other abilities to have their own electricity. So we are not controlling Gaza whatsoever. In terms of how did it happen, this is a good question that a lot of Israelis have been asking themselves these days. I think that there were some signs, minor signs in the morning, but it was unexpected that it would get to this scale. So there are a lot of hero soldiers and police officers and citizens who've been trying to protect the villages up until bigger forces were coming. But this all happened in a few hours. And we just have to realize that when you're facing a terror organization who throwing a grenade into a house, killing, murdering a whole family in just seconds, even if the response from our side was fast, the price was already very, very high. I'm sure there will be investigations after for how it happened exactly and where was the misunderstanding of what's going on. But for now, we're not dealing with it. For now, we're dealing at the war to make sure it's not the priority. The priority is now to deal with the war, to make sure that we eliminate Hamas, to make sure that we put this threat, it's an existential threat on our citizens, behind us.
All right. I'd like to ask you about one of the actors of the region. I'm talking about Turkey, which obviously is, we have a lot of interest for this. Please show me the yesterday statement from President Erdogan that he openly says that Hamas is not a terrorist organization by liberation, a mujahideen group that struggles to protect its lands and citizens. And I'd like to point out actually that mujahideen, it's mujahideen actually. It was a terminology that they've been using in 1974 called the terrorist organization of TMT, of Turkish Cypriots. They did all the atrocities in Cyprus. Now, how you receive this statement?
First of all, we saw it yesterday. Israel rejects Erdogan's statement about Hamas. We all know Hamas is a terror organization who slaughtered, murdered, raped women and children and elderly in Israel. So we reject Turkish President harsh words. We also don't forget the connections between Turkey and Hamas from previous years. We also remember very well where were the Hamas leadership on October 7, and we're not confused about our friends in the region. We're not confused, we know it very well. We know that Turkey had its interest to warm the relations between Turkey and Israel, but we've been very cautious about that, and it has a very clear ceiling.
No, I understand your position. Mainly, I'm not expecting for you to have to say something more harsh or strong or whatever. Mainly, I'd like to point out the position of Turkey. Sometimes it comes like it's a friend that wants to help in the region, but it seems to me that they have a hidden agenda regarding the Middle East, and this hidden agenda, you are in the center of it. That's why I pointed out.
We are in the center of their hidden agenda in what sense?
Of their agenda. Turkey is not a secret that they really want to become like a regional power. Mm-hmm. And to achieve this target, it must be like the big brother or the father of the rest of the Arabs. So that's why many times it's accusing the state of Israel about what's going on with the Palestinians, so on, so that, or like the last statement of President Erdogan. That's why I was pointed out, because I really like to have your opinion about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand what you mean, but as I said, we know exactly who our friends are, and we're not confused about that, and we are very clear about our position in regards to warming up any relationship with them, and we reject harshly this very vicious statement.
I take your diplomatic answer. After all, you are a deputy ambassador of Israel. Now, I like to discuss about the thousands of Israeli citizens that live in Cyprus, both in the areas controlled by the Republic of Cyprus, but at the same time, there are also hundreds of thousands living in the occupied territory of Cyprus. And I'd like to ask you if you worry about the safety of your citizens living in Cyprus, and to extend a bit more the question, if you feel there is any safety awareness regarding Cyprus.
Okay, so as you mentioned, yes, there are a few thousands of Israelis who live here in Cyprus permanently. There are also a few thousands who came recently for like a temporary solution. Yeah. And we are in touch with both of the groups. We have no information of what's happening in the occupied territory. Israel is recognizing Cyprus, the Republic of Cyprus, and is in touch with the people who live in Cyprus. We are not concerned about security issues because we have really good connection and relations with the local police, and they are taking every possible measure to make sure that we are safe and secure, and they are taking very seriously every threat or suspicious that we maybe have. So in that sense, no, we believe that Cyprus is a safe place. We don't have any worries of that sort, and we are in touch all the time with the local police. Even before the war, and especially now.
Thank you very much for your presence today, and actually I'd like to give you the time to address to anyone you want to address, and the last words coming from you.
Okay, thank you very much for having me. I would like to take this opportunity to thank for the support that Israel is receiving from Cyprus, start from the President, Christodoulides, who went to Israel just a few days ago and met with our Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and our President, Yitzhak Herzog. We really appreciate all the support that we receive from Parliament, politicians, public figures, and everyone else in Cyprus. It means a lot because when fighting such an enemy, Hamas, we have to understand that we all have to be united. The world has to be united against terror. Exactly like after the 9/11, people were united against terror. Exactly like in any other ISIS operations and attacks, people were united against terror as well. So people has to understand that Hamas is exactly the same enemy and exactly the same terror organization like all the others, and it has to be addressed as such. And we would really appreciate all the support from the countries of the world, including Europe, including Cyprus, including everyone else. And have in mind that eliminating such a terror organization can take time. We have to be patient, believe that Israel is doing the best of her abilities to make sure that we are minimizing the harm in civilian populations. We are not aiming to target the Palestinians. This is not our goal, and this is not our war. We are aiming against Hamas, the terror organization, and we need to have patience to make sure that it will be eradicated completely. This is our goal, and I really appreciate the time, and for the listeners, I hope for us that you'll stand next to Israel in these very, very difficult days.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it was Deputy Ambassador of the State of Israel in Cyprus, Mr. Rotem Segev. Until the next time, take care of yourself.